Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to SICW Wrestling Explosion. It's a very special episode as, depending on where you're watching this, if you're watching this on Charter Spectrum Cable, it's Christmas Day. And if you're watching this on the Fight TV app, well, it's still Christmas time. Merry Christmas to all of the great SICW and wrestling fans all around the world. We've got a great episode planned for you today. First of all, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, recently was in town, and our very own Larry Matisic sat down with the legendary manager for a great chat. We have the staff of SICW, some wrestlers, some referees, all got together to send you some holiday wishes. And at the end of the episode, we put together a nice little montage featuring some of the greatest moments in SICW's 2016. It's a special episode. The holidays are upon us, ladies and gentlemen. We have to have a quick word from our sponsors, but don't go away. We'll be right back with Larry Matisic and Jimmy Hart.
Baby, it's cold outside. You know why that is, you idiots? Because it's Christmas time. Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho. You know that beautiful holiday song, All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey? She wrote that about me. She totally wrote that about me. And I know all of you people out there in TV land, all of you SICW fans, all you want for Christmas is me. Well, you've got me right here on television in front of you. Merry Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. This is Larry Matisic. It's not Wrestling at the Chase. It's SICW Wrestling Explosion. But I got a guy here who would have been very much at home on Wrestling at the Chase and certainly is at home on a Wrestling Explosion because he caused a few of them. One of the greatest managers of all times, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Jimmy, welcome.
Larry, is this unbelievable or not? We're back together again. You know what I'm so excited about? The first time I got to go to St. Louis and met Larry, where did you take me to eat? The White Castle! I love the White Castle, man.
I'm glad you were fed well. I took you to one of the top spots.
Well, the only thing about it, he was so cheap, he got one chocolate milkshake with 2 straws. I couldn't figure that out. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what? You've always kept wrestling alive here, you and Herb and everything. It's been so cool and so good, and I'm so excited to be here because there's a lot of up-and-coming young talent. I know you and Herb have been sending me some tapes each week. You know, I got my new beach bar down at Daytona Beach, Jimmy Hart's Hall of Fame, bar and tiki deck. That's the same as plug. But, you know, you're always welcome to come down there, man.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. And another thing, you mentioned young talent, and you mentioned keeping wrestling alive. Have you seen some young talent that, if it had the chance to develop, could maybe have fit in during the day?
Well, absolutely. You know, it's kind of a different style now. There's a lot of high flying, that's kind of in the wrestling business now. But, you know, I got to tell you, every Monday night we watch Raw, every Tuesday night at the bar we watch SmackDown, and every now and then I see a little blast from the past. I saw The Undertaker a couple of weeks ago, and a little thing with Stone Cold, and The Rock comes back once in a while too. So you kind of got to, it's kind of like putting a vegetable soup together. You got to have a little bit of everything, you right?
That is correct. And I think when you were up here in St. Louis, you had a chance to see Ron Powers even use the RKO, right?
You know what? I like this kid, man. I wish I'd have had him back in the Memphis day, but he probably wasn't born back when I was in Memphis, I'll tell you that now. But I like his style. He's got a great look. He's very good in the ring, and that really goes a lot of way. You know, to me, I've always been kind of a visual guy. I don't care how good somebody is in the ring, but you got to have that. But you got to have that certain thing. You got to have that it factor. Well, when you go through the airports, people kind of look like, I know who. Man, he looks somebody special. You know, you always got to have that.
You cannot teach charisma, and Jimmy Hart has charisma. We'll be back with him at different times. Thank you.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas from the icon Chris Hargis. And remember, I'm better than you.
Ho, ho, ho. Speaking of hoes, Big Daddy and Travis, how's your mama? Merry Christmas.
I'd like to wish a Merry Christmas to all the great fans at SICW and also all my great veterans, brothers and sisters. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Hello, this is Larry Matisic, and I'm back again with one of our favorites, Jimmy Hart, and talking with you, Jimmy, about some of the talent, some of the things you saw when you came up here to visit SICW. One of the things you saw were managers. You saw Big Daddy, who's certainly one of the famous guys here for quite a while.
I call him Colonel Sanders, right?
Oh, you called him Colonel Sanders?
Yeah, he answered to it. I thought he looked pretty good, you know.
Well, I have to think about that. And then, of course, there was Travis Cook, who did some interviews about you on the internet, and I don't know if they were real complimentary or not.
But you know what? He kind of reminds me of a little heavier Howard Finkel. Think about that. When you see him, he reminds me of Howard Finkel because Howard had a great voice, and Cook, he has a great voice too. But I like both these guys. Both these guys, well, first of all, they wouldn't be with your organization if they were just, like Bobby Heenan used to say, ham and eggers, right? Not trying to steal that line. I gave Bobby credit for it. But both these guys, I think they add a lot to what you have going on. You know, a lot of the managers aren't used a lot more back in the, like they were back in our era. You know, back in our era, we had Fred Blasky, Mr. Fuji, Lou Albano, the captain, Bobby the Brain Heenan, who's one of the greatest. And of course, now they use, Paul E., of course, and he does a great job, but they use a lot of the girls more now, too.
So you wonder where some of these guys learned the things they did, like Big Daddy and, of course, Travis Cook. You know, they say they learned them from people like you.
Oh, my God. You know, I'm so flattered. But both these managers here, like I said, they wouldn't be here in your organization if neither one didn't have what it really takes. And both of them have different styles. But you know what I noticed with these guys? For some reason, it seems like there's a little animosity going on between them, a little jealousy between these two guys. And it's such a shame. But, you know, coming from where I came from, too, I'd always see a little things going on between Lou Albano, and it seemed like he might have a little jealousy against Fred Blassie and Fred Blassie against Mr. Fuji. And I just kind of sit back and take a look. And that's what I did with you guys, too.
Did you ever have jealousy against anybody up in WWF, WWE?
Listen, I was so happy to be in the WWF back in the day, which is the WWE now. I didn't care if they wanted to tar and feather me. I didn't care if they wanted to cut my hair. I didn't care if they wanted to paint me yellow. Matter of fact, I used to go, look, I'll go buy the paint. I didn't care. You know, we made a good living by doing this. And plus, I've always loved this business, you know. Sometimes Lauder used to say, Jimmy Hart, sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good. Hopefully, I was a little bit of both. But, you know, back in the day from the Memphis era, I was so blessed to be there. I was just, like I said, it was a dream come true. I never really planned any career. I fell out of school, and out of the 12th grade, I graduated, and all of a sudden, we were touring with Dick Clark and Caravan of Stars with Sonny and Cher and the Beach Boys. We had that million-seller record, Keep on Dancing. When that ran its course, I thought, well, what am I going to do now? And all of a sudden, I'm in the crazy world of wrestling. So then the next phone call was New York, and here we are now.
1, 2, 3. See if we can count to 3. Merry Christmas.
From SICW here in East Cronolette, Illinois.
So it's Christmas time again, and you want to celebrate the holidays. The only way to do that, baby, is with Johnny Blade, if you know what I'm saying.
This is Victor Bruiser, wishing all you morons a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday.
Hi, this is Larry Matisick with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. And we've talked with you a little bit over the last couple of weeks, different thoughts, different things that happened. And you started talking a little bit the last time about what happened in music. First, talk about that first big hit that you did with the Gentrys.
One hit wonder, and we're still not in the Hall of Fame in Cleveland yet. Can you believe that? Are you listening? You know what? We were in high school. Jerry Lawler went to wrestling. I went to music. And it seems like everybody in wrestling wants to be in music, and everybody in music wants to be in wrestling nowadays. But we had a hit record. We cut a hit record called Keep on Dancing there on the MGM label. And the next thing you know, we graduated from high school, and we're on the road on Cavalcade of Stars, which is bus tours back then. The Beach Boys, Sonny and Cher, Chuck Berry. You know, it's just so many groups back then. And we did that run for about 3 or 4 years, and the original group broke up, and I was by myself. And all of a sudden, I put a new group together called the Gentrys. We went over to Sun Records. Sam Phillips signed me to a deal, the guy who produced Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, and all the guys like that. And he was reissuing the old Sun label. So we cut a couple of songs. The old Neil Young hit, Cinnamon Girl, had a hit off that. And another thing I wrote called Why Should I Cry? So all of a sudden, we were on the road again. So I had a good run, and then one day, the King came to me, and he said, look, Jimmy, he said, we need some entrance music down here in Memphis. So we put a few things together, and the next thing you know, I'm managing Jerry Lawler. Nothing was pre-planned. I didn't have this big major plan in my career that I was going to do music and do wrestling, so I've been lucky. And we did that, and I was down there for almost 6 years, and I was calling home. Back in the day, you know, we had to use the old payphones outside. Yeah. So I'm managing Plyboy Frazier, which was Uncle Elmer up there, Coco Beware, Handsome Jimmy Valiant. So before I went to the building that night in Nashville, you know, I used the payphone right next to the Days Inn where we all had three people in a room, you know, healing a room, of course. So I make the phone call, and I call home, and anybody call, and they go, yeah, Vince McMahon called. And I went, Vince McMahon calling me, please. I thought it was Austin Idol wanting to ride to the town. So I didn't even call back. A week later, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky with Coco Ware and Dream Machine and some of the teams like that. So same thing. I used the payphone. I called home. They go, well, George Scott called me, who was his booker at the time. And I went, oh my God, why do these guys keep bugging me and playing like they're somebody else? So I still didn't call him. So the next week we're at home and Hillbilly Jim calls me, but for us he was called Harley Davidson. So Hillbilly calls me and goes, Jimmy, Hillbilly Jim, hey man, how you doing? He goes, listen, I just want to let you know WWE, well WWF, is trying to get a hold of you. They got a big show in 3 months called WrestleMania. He said, I think they've been looking at your tape. Howard Finkel's seen your tape. They'd like to see if you'd like to sign with them. Now back then, oh my gosh, we had to be really careful because WWE was getting a lot of the talent from a lot of the different towns and everybody was kind of upset about that.
A lot of anger.
Yeah, a lot of it. So I said, man, I would love to. So he called me, he said, 5 minutes, Vince McMahon's going to call you. Sure enough, 5 minutes. He called me. I was on the plane the next day, and the rest was history.
Well, the rest was history, which you almost forget about, though. Not only was Jimmy doing things, but over the rest of the time that he was with WWF, you wrote a lot of the entrance music for the wrestlers because the entire situation changed about which music they could use. They had to produce their own music, correct?
Right. And we were so lucky back then. We got to write Shawn Michaels' Sexy Boy, The Road Warriors, What a Rush, Road to Destruction by the Hart Foundation, the Demolition Song.
All American.
Yeah, we did that. We did, oh my gosh, Snuka. We did Repo Man. We did, just so many of the, and of course with WCW, Nash and Hall's The Wolfpack song, all that stuff, all the Nitro Girl stuff. So, like I said, sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good.
Keep that in mind. It's a good thing to remember in wrestling and in life. We'll be back with more with Jimmy Hart. Thank you.
All right, so the Big Texan is back this month in the mask and all. But I just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from SICW.
Hello, this is Larry Matisick, and I'm with Jimmy Hart, and Jimmy Hart is with his megaphone.
Yeah.
How in the world did you get a megaphone? I thought you had a cane at first.
Well, in Memphis, Tennessee, I used to carry a cane to the ring back in the day. But when I went to New York, Mr. Fuji had the cane, and I wasn't about to step on Mr. Fuji's toes. Trust me on that. So I didn't take anything with me. One day I was in one of the locker rooms, and I think I was managing King Kong Bundy at the time and Greg Valentine before I had the Hart Foundation and all that. And Vince McMahon had been to Japan, and he came back, and he goes, Jimmy, this is going to be your new gimmick. And I said, well, can I paint it, fix it up? He said, you can do anything with it you want. So that's why it's all colored up. But the megaphone up in New York was a major part of I think, what led to Jimmy Hart getting some of the exposure we had and a lot of wins that our teams got back in the day.
But you had to know when and how to use it, is that correct?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, to me, your guys were always the most important thing. I was kind of like the hood ornament on a Cadillac. Now if the hood ornament was off, the Cadillac didn't look good, but the hood ornament by itself didn't look good without the Cadillac. Your guys have always got to come first because they're the ones in the ring getting everybody where you really need to get to. And like I said, from when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2005, I sat there and I said, I want to thank these guys for doing it. And I named everybody off that I managed on that. But it really came from my heart because without them, I wouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame. But you know what? That's like, I'm looking behind me up here before we started doing these interviews. Look at this. Greg the Hammer Valentine managed him, of course. I had Rocky Johnson in the early stages of Memphis. And of course, Terry and Dory Funk, I managed them in New York. The Briscoe brothers, I had them in Memphis when they would come in. Harley Race, I got to manage him one time fighting Jerry Lawler. And the list goes on and on. But this is what keeps this going. This is a lot of tradition here, a lot of young talent mixed in with that. That's what's so awesome about what you and Herb are doing, Larry.
You can mix it all together. Do you have any regrets? Is there anything at all that you have a regret about? Or are you happy about everything you did in wrestling?
I wouldn't change anything because there's no way to go back into WWF and be in the ring or in a room with Andre the Giant or Hulk Hogan or the Rougeau brothers or the Nasty Boys or the British Bulldogs or Jake the Snake Roberts or the Honky Tonk Man. So I cherish that. Memphis, Tennessee, live interviews. I mean, you couldn't go out and go, oh, excuse me, I made a mistake. Can I do this over? Are you out of your mind? But see, no contracts back then. So whatever we did on TV, we had to draw the people in the buildings, and the people didn't come. We didn't make any money. So only the strong survived back in those days. So I was so blessed to be with the Lawlers and Jerry Jarrett and them. And then, like I said, it's just been a great run, and we're still doing it now. We do the legend stuff now. We have the action figures out, which I'm so blessed. We're in the new encyclopedias that come out, and we still have great opportunities to come to St. Louis so I can get a White Castle, of course, and to be here with all you guys because I love this is what it's about. I guarantee you, on some of the shows that we did for you guys, there was about 3 or 4 guys on there. All of them were very good, but I saw 3 or 4 guys that really stood out to me. So I think y'all are on the right path, the right track.
It's good to see, and I think it means a lot to the wrestlers here, to the fans here, to see somebody like Jimmy Hart joining us with SICW Wrestling promoter Herb Simmons. I'll tell you what, it's fun to have you here, and I appreciate it.
Well, just remember something. It's hard to kill a memory.
Our guru of production, Mr. Grant Murphy, has put together a montage featuring some of the greatest moments in 2016 from SICW fans. We hope you enjoy this look back. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank each and every SICW fan for making 2016 one of the greatest years in company history. Buckle up for the ride, because 2017 guarantees to be even more exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, join us January the 21st in the East Carondelet Community Center for our next great event, or join us each and every Sunday right here on Charter Spectrum or on the Fight TV app. I'm Drew Abbenhouse. We'll see you next week on SICW Wrestling Explosion.